Blessings. Welcome to today's Law Enforcement Daily Devotional. Today we're in Hosea 8 through 14, and we're going to finish it up. Some really good takeaways today as we move through this incredible story of God dealing with Israel for the sins that they've committed. And as to be expected, and I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here, but God shows just this amazing grace. Amazing grace. How sweet the sound. Israel deserves punishment for the things that they've done against God. And if anybody is totally innocent in all of this, it is God. He loves them. He has provided for them. And all he asks is that they worship him and not other idols, not false gods. And they do. They turn away from him. But instead of punishment, we see towards the end of this that God just is like, well, it's in chapter 11, verse 9, since we're already talking about it. I'm going to jump right to it. The verse says, I will no longer execute my fierce anger. I will not destroy Ephraim again. And Ephraim is a substitute for Israel. Sometimes he'll use the name Jacob, and Jacob is a substitute for the name of Israel. So when he says Ephraim, he's talking about the entire country, not just that one tribe. It says, for I am God and not man, the Holy One in your midst, and I will not come in wrath. It is such a great verse for us to remember. Even David, when he was given the option of choosing punishment from a plague, punishment from man coming in and invading, or punishment from God, he said, let me fall into the hands of God, because God is gracious and compassionate. Man will rip you to shreds. And here, God says it, for I am God and not man. I want to fall into the hands of a holy God, someone who loves me unconditionally and has grace for me way beyond anything I deserve. Grace is unmerited favor in the face of deserved wrath. We deserve wrath, but he gives us this grace that we don't deserve. And we see that throughout the Bible. And when people say the God of the Old Testament is just a mean God who wants to kill everybody, and that is not true. We've seen it with Ahab. We see it here. We've seen it in so many places in God's Word where at the moment where they deserve wrath, he stops and says, no, I'm going to give them grace. I'm going to pardon them. I'm going to forgive them of everything, and I'm going to love them. That's the kind of God we serve. Isn't that cool? Okay, so law enforcement takeaway. Chapter 10, verses 12 and 13. And again, we're in the midst of this story of Israel. But verse 12 of chapter 10, it says, sow with a view of righteousness. Now, when he's saying sow, not needle and thread, he's talking about plowing up the ground and sowing, planting seeds. Sow with a view of righteousness. Reap in accordance with kindness. Break up your fallow ground, for it is time to seek the Lord until he comes to rain righteousness on you. And I apologize, this is not my law enforcement takeaway. That's coming up. It's the next verse. But this one was such a great verse as far as you reap what you sow. If you sow righteousness, if you go around and intentionally act righteous and perform righteousness, not to get into heaven. This is a work God created for you after you've received salvation. But if you sow righteousness, you're going to reap righteousness. He's going to rain down righteousness upon you. And a simple way of looking at it, if you want people to treat you kindly, you have to treat them kindly first. That's when you treat them kindly, you're sowing seeds of kindness. Then their kindness will come back on you. It's like planting tomatoes, and when the harvest comes up, what are you going to get? You're going to get tomatoes. You're not going to get carrots. You're going to get exactly what you sowed. So if you're sowing anger and bitterness towards people, don't expect anything less than that from people. And God's going to love you. And then real quick, 10:13 says, you have plowed wickedness, you have reaped injustice, you have eaten the fruits of lies. Because you have trusted in your way, in your numerous warriors, God's telling them, look, this is the opposite of reap. If you reap righteousness, I'm going to rain down, or if you sow righteousness, I'm going to rain down righteousness on you. But he says, if you plow wickedness, you're going to get injustice, and you're going to, just like what we just talked about. Okay, here's my LEO takeaway. I keep saying the wrong one. Chapter 12, verse 6. The NIV says it like this: but you must return to God. Think about that. You must return to God. Maintain justice and love and wait for your God always. I get this thought of you can't maintain love and justice until you return to God. The NASB puts it like this: therefore, return to your God, observe kindness and justice, and wait for your God continually. Be a man or woman that follows God, his laws, his rules, his precepts, all the things that he expects of his children, the things he expects from a royal priesthood. Follow and do those things. Maintain justice, maintain love, observe kindness and justice. That's what we're called to do. Great takeaways. Just a great read today. Tomorrow we're in 2 Kings chapter 15, verses 1 through 7. We're going to go to 2 Chronicles and read chapter 26, and then we're going to read the book of Amos, chapters 1 through 4. So tomorrow's going to be some good reads. Read ahead, come back here, let's discuss what we've learned, and be safe.